Patrick Weiss, Project Manager, Operation Pollinator for Syngenta. I mean, what is Operation Pollinator? What are you trying to do?
Well, with Operation Pollinator, we try to show on a landscape scale how you can bring together managing sustainability and also intensive farming. And so the project wants to show and engage all different stakeholders. And we want to also facilitate discussions between them to lead to a new and more modern farming, which also respects sustainability. And of course, as we know, the world population is growing. So the food demand, the global food demand will rise about 70% by 2050.
Because we've got the problem also of great competition for land. We've got people wanting to grow biofuels, we've got climate change affecting land, desertification, but also rising sea levels. I mean, how do you cope with that in a world that could hit 9 to 10 billion by 2050?
Well, the idea is that we think we have also to do something on the supply side. So what we are trying to do is to find a solution how you can still grow intensively, but also take care of the environment. And Operation Pollinator is a very practical approach that is rolled out now within 9 countries in Europe. And also we're starting in the US to show how you can do this.
How can you do it? I mean, how does Operation Pollinator work?
Well, basically what you do is very simple. What we do is we try to create dedicated habitat for pollinators. So the problem there is a lack of food and a lack of nesting sites. And that was because with the intensification of agriculture, this was lost. So now we try to reintroduce it. And we want to do this by also managing the margins. So at the end of the day, you'll have a dedicated habitat, where we have targeted seed mixes that are targeted to the local conditions. And we also show the growers how to manage it.
In the United States, in parts of California where almonds are grown in particular, I gather that the cost of actually renting a hive of bees, for instance, to do the pollinating for you has gone up through the roof because of the rapid die-off of the bee population. I mean, is that a cause of concern? Or have you managed to work out what you can do about it?
Well, there's 2 things you should distinguish. There are the honeybees, and the problem there is mainly varroa. And so that's why we had the losses of the honeybees. And then also there is for pollination, there are the wild bees, which are very important. And in fact, as you say, in the US, in almonds, the pollination, which is done by the beekeepers, got one of the biggest costs in managing the crop. So there is an issue too. But we also believe that the results show also that the best pollination is if we have a mix between domesticated honeybees and also the wild bees.
But I mean, it's not just bees, of course. There are other pollinators too, other insects that do the pollinating. Einstein famously said, once the bees die out, within a very short time, we won't be far behind them. There is concern, isn't there, that we rely on nature to do the pollinating for us, and it's one thing that humans can't do on their own.
Well, there is the pollination of the bees is very important, but it's not as bad as Einstein said that the world would stop turning after 4 days. But the pollination is very important, and as you just said, it also gets a cost if they are not there anymore. So we try to bring them back there and also have the resources for food and nesting.
How do you see the future? There's a lot of talk about sustainability, protecting the environment as part of, for instance, the reform of the CAP, which is something which is going to happen in 2013. I mean, how do you see the future producing farming that is profitable for the farmer, but also doesn't damage the environment and is capable of feeding the world?
Well, that's where we as Syngenta see a new solution that on one hand, we want to increase productivity, but on the other hand, we also want to manage environment. So at the end of the day, we believe it has to be a coexistence. So you have to do both of it. And if you just do one, it's not enough. And so we also do this Operation Pollinator. It's also about educating people. So because it's very visual, as you can see here, even if you go there and you see the bees. So if we have those margins in the field, which are usually about 6 meters wide and at least 50 meters long, so you can bring anyone there and you just walk in and you see the bees are there. And if you go to a field, a crop field, you just won't find any pollinators. So it's very visual, it's very simple also, and it engages a lot of stakeholders. And so we also try to bring it to the food chain, talking to food producers and retailers, and get them in the boat to help us with communications.
Do you feel there is now more awareness on the part of farmers, but food producers generally, for the food production industry, if you like, that there is a need to allow some space for nature to cooperate with the farmers?
Well, I believe there is like also now the growing demand from the general public that says we want to go more sustainable, and we have to take care of this. And so yes, I believe there is a need, and there's also a little bit of pressure to the retailers that they have to source with integrity. And this is just, so what we try to do is to make it a plug-and-play solution where you could very easily and practically just implement it. So we have now, so our aim is to have 10,000 hectares of dedicated habitat with Operation Pollinator in Europe. And this is working very well, and the interest is there, and the response from all the stakeholders is there. So yes, I believe there's a big need, and we'll see more things like Operation Pollinator in the future.